We're going to tackle the roof now on our 1970 Chevy pickup here, and what we got going on here is the seam sealer has cracked along the roof rail, and you can see what it originally kind of looked like here was it's like a, I don't know what you would call it, like a paste or a resin or something that has been placed into this channel. This is where the roof is attached to the door panel, and it's welded right along here in this lip coming out. And then with the metal being pinched together with the welds, the two panels are smushed together, but they put the seam sealer in here to seal off that so water can't make it in. So what happens is it gets old and it cracks, and we can see here where it's cracked and the rust is coming through. That it gets cracks and then water starts seeping in, and then it works its way down these posts and it makes it down into our floors, in where it can cause a lot of rust and damage like we see in this one. So what we're going to do is grind this out and replace the seam sealer, then we're going to paint this roof. And you can see here someone has already put silicone up here, or resin or whatever this is. It's kind of hard and old, and so instead of grinding it out, they just did kind of a cheap job here, just filling right over all those cracks and everything, and it did not work. You can see that stuff rusting underneath there. So we're gonna get rid of all this and do it right. So the tools we're gonna be using to get this work on this trough are basically gonna be this right here. We got a 3-inch what's called a roll-lock. And what they are basically is just this sanding disc. They come in different grits and all that. This one is 50 grit that I'll be using on it. It's pretty coarse, and it should get that rust out of there. Another one is going to be the same thing, a roll-lock disc, only this is a 2-inch. So that's a lot smaller to get into those corners and hard to reach areas. And you can see the disc here is just, it's basically the same thing, only smaller. Now I'm going to take this guy here. This is just a cutter wheel. And you know, this is made to cut sheet metal and cut cut panels off, but look at how thin that is, and that's really going to come in handy when we got to get in between that seam up there and grind off that seam sealer and rust in there, and also on the back side of the lip along the cab. So this one you have to be careful on. You don't want to cut through anything, but you can use it as a grinding wheel, even though that's not what it's made for. I like to use it for that. And I'm just going to take like an old screwdriver. This is just a junky cheap screwdriver that I'm going to use as a scraping tool. Also, a good sharp chisel is a must on this. I'm going to try to get as much of this off with a hammer and this chisel going around there. Alright, we're going to take the little 2-inch, we're going to get in this thing and clean it out a little bit. All right. All right, so we're where we need to be, and that's what you want your trough to look like for the most part when you're done. I got a few bits of rust here, which I'll take care of in a second, but the thing is you get most of it out of there. That's where you want to be. Now here we got pits everywhere and rust, so I'll show you how we're going to take care of that. We're going to neutralize that. Instead of scraping on this thing all day, we'll figure out something. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to take some alcohol and I'm going to dump it in there and make sure I get all the water out of this joint. Now I'm going to do it real liberally here. Alright, make sure it gets seeped in there real good. Take a paper towel here and kind of dab it up, get it down in here. We want to get rid of all that water that could potentially be trapped down inside there, because this thing was outside and leaking really well, so we need to make sure we get rid of all that. Okay, we just blew all that alcohol out of there. Now, you notice there's some rust here and there, and I can't get it all out. So what I'm going to do, instead of trying to grind on it all day long, and I won't be able to get the stuff down here in this crack, I'm going to use this stuff. It's called Rust Fix from Duplicolor. I bought this down at Napa. I think it was only like $4 for the can. I can't remember exactly. I've had this on hand for a while. But supposedly it turns the rust into primer. Now, I don't know. I wouldn't use this on anything, but for this, I mean, like spraying a whole panel that's rusted, I don't know if this would be a good option. But something like this where you have spots of rust, definitely I would spray it on there. And it doesn't really separate or anything. It's just kind of, yeah, it just sprays on like that. And I just spray it on the whole thing like this. And see that rust right there, how it just turns it black immediately? So it does, whatever's in this, it does something. And there we go, we'll let that dry. Alright, this stuff's all dry now. I'm just going to take some etching primer before we put the seam sealer in there. And just kind of get this steel covered up. So, just real short bursts. I'm not masking anything off. Now we're going to use Fast and Firm, made by 3M, for along the channel up there. And basically it's just a caulking tube that goes in a caulking gun. And you can see I've got this all taped off up here, right down the channel where I'm going to go. So I'm going to try to just fill in between here and here with the seam sealer. Not clear up to the edge, but in here. Just mainly to get this seam here covered up. So what I've done here is I've taken a little, this is one of those body filling spatulas that I've taken reformed into kind of a butter knife look here. I got one end that's kind of real round and this end is kind of narrow with a pointy end to get more down kind of inside here, like so. Well, probably actually the other way like this. Yeah. And so that way when I'm smearing this in there, I can just kind of go down and smear that filler in. And then also, of course, I'm wearing gloves because this stuff is moisture activated and you get it on your hands, it's going to be pretty difficult to get off. So anyway, just start here. I'm just going to run a kind of a small bead on down here and keep it close inside there. We'll clear the end here. Alright, I'm going to take this, just like I showed, go in here, and smear it in. I'm going to kind of go back up here. It looks like I'm a little too wide here, but that's alright, I'll push it in. Alright. There we go, just like that. You just take this tape and pull it loose. it gives you a nice seam right along the edge there. And where, so that way there's not a whole lot of cleanup along there. And I can just spray a little bit of sealer over the top of that and it should be good. I'll take this, right over that alcohol I put down, and put our Fast and Firm right along that seam like that. And you know what, I think I'm gonna go back and do a bead right alongside there. Oops, it's balling up on me. Okay. I'll try to get these filled up here. Alright, cool. Now I'm just gonna give it a try with my finger. Sometimes my little tool I made works, or you can just use the finger here. And just get that down there and make sure it gets right up against the lip of this drip rail. Because if you got a hole in there, it kind of defeats the purpose of having all this. Okay. Go back over there. Now you gotta work fast because this stuff starts hardening as soon as you do this. That's why you want to kind of take it a section at a time. Gotta make sure everything gets covered here. Alright. Now, alright, pull that tape off up to the edge here. Alright, now take the finger, or actually take the cloth, the alcohol left on it, run it right down along the top here. You can kind of see how that smears it out smoothly. Oh yeah. Look at that. Alright. That's looking good for the most part. So I'm going to let that dry right there, and then I'll come back over with some sandpaper later. And I'll continue on down doing that. Okay. So here we go again. Put some alcohol in a rag, wipe it down. Alright, I'm going to take my little tool and run it right down here like so. Just kind of gently to get it smushed and keep it flat like that. Alright, here I'll get some more back up on top here. Yeah, let's get a little more filler up there, seam sealer up here. There we go. Okay. Now take our rig of alcohol here, wipe it down. Yeah, that's giving us a nice factory look right there. Alright. Now peel the tape off. Alright. It's looking pretty good. Now I'll take this rig again. Start at the top and just run her on down. Alright. Now that's looking really good. I'm going to let that set up, but then I got to clean off some of this slobber I got over here, so what I'll do is I'll take some paint thinner and wipe that off. Okay, well after it's clean, after it's set up a little bit, it's still a bit soft, a couple hours have gone by. This is what we got here, and it's looking pretty good. I just have a few spots I'm going to shave off, like that right there. I won't touch it till it completely dries, and then I'll hit it with a razor blade. But yeah, you can see that it's settled down there pretty good. I got it now. I got a few little holes like right here. I need to go back and fill in, so I'll do that. I'll do that before I paint this roof, and just kind of put my gloves on, and I'll use the alcohol again, and I'll just smear it in there and fix that up. But for the most part, this is what you want it to look like. And so one thing we could do is wait a little longer for it to dry and then hit it with some sandpaper, maybe like some 180. But this is pretty good. Hey guys, thanks thanks so much for watching this video tutorial. I hope it's a big help to you. Make sure you subscribe to the Jeepsters channel to see more of these video tutorials to come soon. And also, subscribe to my channel, in which you can see some of my own personal projects and things going on in my life as well. Thanks again for watching.